From Central Indiana's #1 news source, this is Fox 59 Tonight.
Well, good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Fox 59 Tonight and downloading our new Fox 59 Now Smart TV app, which you can find on Roku, Fire TV, or Apple TV. And of course, following us here on Facebook and on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you subscribe so you never miss any of the conversations that we'll have here every night at 8 o'clock. Apparently, some of the conversations we hear have been talked about a little bit. Today, though, nothing really controversial. In fact, the idea is to stop some of the controversies that we've had to cover when police respond to 911 calls. We've heard from police officers in recent years who have said that they are not best equipped to handle calls having to do many times with mental health issues. We have seen how those can go drastically wrong right here in Indianapolis and be fatal or injure people. And that is not something that anybody wants to see. And so the city has moved forward with more initiatives to bring mental health and people who are trained to deal in that space to the scene of a needed emergency. And because we know those can be delicate situations for a lot of people and for a lot of different reasons. So to explain what the term clinician led, I should say, community response, which is now operating in Indianapolis, to explain what that is, Lorraine Conway is here. She is the director of programming for the organization CLCR. Lorraine, it's a term that if people don't know, they're going to hear more about here now.
Absolutely. So, the Clinician Led Community Response team is a team of mental health professionals who are responding to those mental health crises that come through 911. It's going to be a team of two people typically. It's going to be a clinician who has the clinical background and a peer who has more lived experience, and they're certified peer support specialists as well.
So this is a new thing. We've heard about it for a while, but it's in the mix with a lot of different terms. So you've got your IEMS, you got IMPD, IFD, the MCAT, now CLCR.
Yes.
What's the difference?
So for the Clinician Led Community Response team, we are fully civilian led. So as I explained, it's going to be a clinician or therapist and a peer support specialist, mental health professionals actually responding to mental health crises calls. And for our team, the difference between us and some of the other teams, of course, includes one, we don't come with an officer. Like I said, it's fully civilian led, and MCAT is going to have the clinician and the officer included. So we are mental health professionals trained to respond to mental health calls.
What got us here? I've covered several situations here in Indianapolis where things have not gone well when police have been called to the scene, and we've even seen, people like Chief of Police Chris Bailey say that officers are not equipped to handle every type of call. It's not always appropriate. But what led to CLCR and the need for um, what I guess is now an additional agency?
Yeah, so the conversation started, of course, years ago, and the program was actually birthed through conversations from advocates and community partners who wanted to talk about public health and criminal justice reform. And so our program helps make sure that people don't end up entangled in the criminal justice system when it's simply a mental health crisis.
How often um, does that happen? Because I've seen it firsthand in a lot of different ways when somebody is having an episode, let's call it that, and sometimes the thing we say was somebody call 911, and then in more recent times I've heard people say, wait, no, don't do that because that's only going to aggravate this situation. Um, how often does that happen in these mental health based responses that um, the scene gets worse before it gets better?
So, what I can tell you is that for our team, when looking at the numbers, we responded to over 1,200 calls last year. So, for the need is there, obviously, where people want those who are trained. mental health professionals responding to calls. And then, IMPD officers, they are there to protect and serve, and they are there to respond, to crime. And so to have someone and a team that's trained to respond to those mental health crises calls is something that the community has asked for and that we're responding to.
Was it a surprise from police to say and to admit that, hey, we're not the best at every call. We're not the people that um, we can't handle every call. That's not our expertise. Was that a surprise for them to admit that?
So I can't speak for, the officers or even all of them. What I know is that they have been receptive. There is often times where IMPD ends up on a scene because they've been dispatched through 911. And when they get there, they decide, hey, this is better for the clinician team. And they will dispatch us. We'll go out. They'll give us the information that's needed. We do what's called a warm handoff, and they can exit the scene, continue to go back in on duty for other calls, and then we will take over from there.
So you mentioned IMPD. We've
Mhm.
got video of IMPD. There's a thing called MCAT as well, and I believe that's Mobile Crisis Assistance Team. Oh, there it
Yes.
is, right there. Look at that.
Mhm.
Um, what is that, and how is that different from CLCR?
So MCAT is going to be, as I explained, they're going to have an officer as well as a clinician who is with Eskenazi come out and respond to mental health crises calls. And so for our team, as I explained, we're fully civilian led. So for calls where it's, like I said, a true mental health, there's no escalation, there's no violence on the scene or weapons at play. That's going to be best for the clinician team versus for MCAT. If it's an escalated situation, it's going to be better for them. We also for MCAT, they can place people on what's called emergency detentions. The clinician team does not do that. We will, reach out if we need assistance with that, if a person needs a higher level of care. But at this time, we do not place people on emergency detentions.
How does that determination made? Let's say you've got um, a teenager who's
Mhm.
out of control, and uh, probably isn't, is not armed, but the family calls 911.
Mhm.
And we've seen across the country when something, police come to a scene like that and it doesn't go well. Um, how was that determination made to know to call your team CLCR versus MCAT or an officer?
Yeah. So the amazing thing is that now when people call 911, they're not only being asked, do they need fire, EMS, medical, police, but they're also asking if they need, if it's a mental health crisis.
Mhm.
And if it's a mental health crisis, then the dispatcher will ask questions. They have a decision tree to decide who should this call go to. Is this best for the clinician team? Is it best for MCAT, or does IMPD need to respond? So they ask those questions on the front end, and so before the call gets to us, we already know this is for the civilian team.
So, okay, so you get that call.
Mhm.
What is your guys' response time? Because Indianapolis is a big city.
It is. So right now we are in the downtown east and north districts. And I just looked at that before I came. And right now our current response time is 9 minutes and 41
Okay.
seconds.
So typically, um, so I guess that call goes into a dispatcher.
Yes, through
Um,
911.
does that do they send an officer or somebody there first? Because they're going to beat you with that 9 minutes. Do they kind of hold the scene until you arrive, or is it, hey, we're coming straight from where we're coming from. We'll be there in 9 minutes.
So it absolutely depends on the situation, and that's why they're asking those questions in advance. Of course, ultimately, if we are the first people on the scene for a true mental health crisis, that is the ultimate goal. That's what the community has asked for, and that's how our model is set up. However, depending on what information has been provided during that 911 call and the questions that are asked and the answers that are given, that will determine who it's going to who needs to be there on the scene first. Sometimes there is staging where there's information where we know it might escalate. So sometimes they are there with us as well. But you can clearly ask for the civilian team, and that way we are the ones that are sent out first.
So how many people are on this team now?
Right now we have 23 on
23.
our
Okay, it's a
team.
good team.
Yes, I agree. And that consists of our clinicians. like I said, they're master's level therapists,
Hmm.
and then our peers who are peer support specialists certified,
Hmm.
and they have that lived experience. So we do believe that between the two, we call them neighbors. Our neighbor is going to be able to connect with either the person who has that clinical background or the person who has that lived experience who can say, hey, I understand, I've been there, or kind of talk to them at a different level.
Hmm. Um, what kind of training? I've heard some, um, you said experience led and different things that have influenced people to become part of the CLCR team.
Mhm.
But uh, even though you have that experience, how does that work? Do you show up and say, I want to be part of this CLCR team, or is there additional training that you all have to go through?
So, we absolutely have additional training because, mobile crisis is new. There's not a lot of research on mobile crisis. And so, as a pilot program, there's a lot of things that we are, learning along the way. But as far as our training, we were trained by one of the national mobile crisis experts. Who also goes across the country training mobile crisis teams. He has also created a specific training program for stepping stones in the CLCR that we use for ongoing training. We have a clinical director who also makes sure that our team, is focused and trained on different, topics to stay on top of, the mental health challenges and trends that are taking place. Now, also, we have our onboarding training. So, not only are they going to get the onboarding training before we allow them to respond to any calls, they're going to also shadow the team that's already on duty. And then, of course, we have ongoing training as well.
So the rollout of this now
Mhm.
is 24/7.
Yes.
And so what does that day look like for the members on the team? And where do you guys start? Do you have a home base, an office somewhere, and you wait for a call, or you're patrolling the streets?
We do have what we call our CLCR headquarters. And so that's where we wait. We do have radios, the same radios
Mhm.
that IMPD has. And so that is how we are dispatched to calls. And so we have a day team that works 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then our night shift is 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. And so those teams are there and they're ready to respond to any calls that we are dispatched to.
That was going to be my next question. So how do you stay in touch? You have the radio.
Yes.
So is this all Marion County? Will you go into uh, the other cities in Marion County, like Lawrence, if needed, or Beech Grove, places that have their own police departments, or is this just in the direct patrol area where IMPD would run?
So right now we are in the downtown east and north districts of IMPD. We are excited about where the program is headed, and so I'm not going to say that we won't end up in those areas.
Hmm.
But right now we are responding to those calls in the downtown east and north districts, and we're tracking where those other requests are coming from, so that we can know eventually when we get to the point of continued expansion, what areas we should expand to next.
What is what's been the response so far from the community now that this is debuted and you guys are rolling and patrolling on the streets? What's everybody saying?
Well, it is a program that the community has asked for, and they are excited that we are providing that service to the community. People enjoy having someone come who's an active listener. We come with a calm, presence. We are in, our CLCR gear. And so it does bring a different presence
Hmm.
to the calls that we're on. And people are thankful for that.
Hmm.
Like I said, the community has asked for it and we're responding.
What's you've been 24/7 for how long now?
We went 24/7 January of 2024.
Okay, so we're officially we're about 5 months. It's the first of May.
2024. So
What's that?
that's 2024. So it's been a
2024.
year.
2021.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. We're halfway through this year pretty much,
Hmm.
which is already crazy.
I know.
But
Too
but
fast.
in that time, uh, what kind of calls have you guys had to run on? Because I imagine with this specific work,
Mhm.
this is a lot of things that you take back, and um, you guys are kind of your own guinea pig. It sounds like there's not a lot of places around the country to look for, as you said, there's not a lot of data, not a lot of research. So
Mhm.
other places are going to be looking to you. So when you get that call, what kind of experiences do you guys have to talk about to say we've been through this?
Yeah, so the I don't want to say typical calls, but we see those who are experiencing psychosis. It may be someone who is experiencing depression, anxiety, those who are having suicidal thoughts. Sometimes it may be, one of our neighbors who just has a lot of feelings and emotions and they don't know how to process that. And so they want someone to come and help them in that moment because they feel as though they are in crisis. And so our team will go out and, like I said, we are active listeners. So we help them recognize, what is going on in that moment. We're going to assess and gather all that information to figure out what needs to happen to help them and what resources we can get them connected to. Because for every call that we go on, we actually follow up with them in 24 hours when they're no longer in crisis and make sure that one, there's not something additional that they are needing in that moment or additional resources that we can get them connected to. And in the event that we've connected them to ongoing an ongoing therapy appointment that they can't get into right away, then of course if they're in crisis again, they can call us back out to help them process those feelings until they can get that appointment.
If people are wanting to join your team, are you guys hiring?
We are hiring. So they can go directly to the Stepping Stones tc.org website and learn about the positions that we do have available. We anticipate that as our program continues to grow, our team will continue to grow as well.
So I got some video here of EMS because I'm
Mhm.
trying to learn all the differences and what people do. Um, I thought that you would. I've seen, okay, uh, police officers, will be there to help, but
Mhm.
then you also have the fire department and the EMS who would also respond to these type of calls. Are they also not equipped to do what you guys do?
So I can't say that they aren't equipped to do what we do. But what I know is the same way that people expect if they were having a heart attack that they could get emergency services for a physical health condition, people need the same type of emergency help for mental health conditions. And our team is trained to do just that.
If people want to get uh, involved because they want to learn more, you have a town hall
We
coming up.
do have 3 town hall meetings
Three
coming up.
town halls, so you're going to be busy. So people can ask all the questions that I'm
Yes.
asking and more. Tell us about the town hall.
So the town halls are an opportunity for the community to come out and actually meet the mental health professionals, our clinicians, our peers, those who are responding to the calls that come in through 911. Also, they're going to learn more about the partnerships that we have. They're going to learn about our program motto, and they're going to learn about the impact that this program has had over the community or in the community since we launched July 1st of 2023.
Do you happen to have those dates handy?
I do. So the first one we are holding for our North Side neighbors. It's going to be May 12th. The second one we're hosting for our East Side neighbors. Well, let me go back because for the one on May the 12th, that's going to be at the Marion County Public Health Department Auxiliary Building. Starts at 6 o'clock. The second one, where we're going to go out and chat with our East Side neighbors, is going to be held at P30. And then the last one is May the 28th, and that one will be at the Indianapolis Urban League. They all start at 6. So come out May 12th, May 21st, and May 28th. Come to all of them. If not all, come to at least one.
What are you guys prepared to uh, answer? Is there anything that's off the table? Because people are going to. Uh, this is an organization that I know people will want to trust,
Mhm.
and it starts by understanding how you guys operate, which is why I went through a whole thing about how you guys operate.
Mhm.
Um, but is there um, how will the town hall look? Is it? I mean, is Q&A presentations? What can people expect?
So there will be a presentation to start with. We want to try to lay out as much information as possible so that people might not have questions in the end.
Mhm.
However, if there still are questions, we will have a Q&A at the end to answer any of those unanswered questions.
Okay.
They also in advance can submit questions if they'd like.
Okay.
And hopefully you can post that email address to provide that. I don't have that off the top of my head.
What's the website? You guys have a website yet?
We do.
You
You can
do?
go to steppingstones.tc.org, and that is the and there's several programs there, but you can look under the Clinician Led Community Response Team.
Okay, hang on. Let me see. I didn't spell something right because I
And then
want
I
to.
also can pull up
Because I want
that.
to. I can pull it up and show everybody. Give me that website one more time.
It's steppingstones.tc.org. Mhm.
tc.org. Okay, I added an S onto that. Let me see if I can be fancy enough and I can show everybody the website. And then they will know exactly where to go, how to get in contact with you. There's probably a calendar on there that I would bet. Hang on, let's see. Do we have it? I think I am just fancy enough that you get to tell us what we're looking at. So here is the website.
Sorry, let me pull it up.
So, yeah, I know you got the small screen over on
I
that side.
do. Sorry.
So, okay, so but this is the website. How can people where do we start? How do we get in touch?
So if it's a mental health crisis, for either someone or one of their loved ones, the best way to reach us is through 911. They're
911.
going to ask those appropriate questions to determine, if it's appropriate for the clinician team or if it needs to be MCAT or if an IMPD officer needs to respond or even if it's EMS that needs to respond. So if it's a crisis call, that is the best way to reach us. And as I said, as far as employment, they can go to the website under careers.
And then everything we talked about, how to get involved. You can send a message. Is this maybe where you submit that question?
Yes.
Okay. There it is on the green with the purple button. And then, hey, I asked about those job openings. There they are too. Let me ask you something that maybe you know off the top of your head, maybe you don't. How much do these said careers pay?
Thankfully, I don't have to know all of those off the top of my head. But of course, if someone is offered a position, they of course would be know. We would make that information known
That
at that time.
you've got several things here: home-based therapist, contract home-based caseworker, master's level therapist, supervised visitation facilitator, peer support specialist, and program manager. So a growing squad of people.
Absolutely. And Stepping Stones, of course, is the Stepping Stones Therapy Center is the agency that has the contract with the city of Indianapolis. And so she does other amazing work at Stepping Stone, not just the CLCR program.
Gotcha. Okay. Always want to tell people where they can find jobs, especially when it's about helping people.
I agree.
Lastly, you know what? I think I may have um, I hit a wrong button on that last one, but it's okay. Um, Explain to us, Lorraine, before we go one more time. So that's the website. May 12th is the first upcoming um, town hall. May 12th, I'm sorry,
Yes.
is the upcoming town hall, and that is a good place for people to start if they want to meet you guys.
Absolutely. And we're looking forward to meeting the community and explaining who we are and what we're all about.
All right. That'll do it for us. We're going to keep you updated. We're going to continue to follow the clinician led community response and see how things go because we want to see that it is helping to resolve issues and de escalate situations. And so that more of those calls for first responders end in a happy, peaceful resolution and not something that makes news. I mean, when your calls you go on, we don't want to hear about them. We want to hear that it ended peacefully and there's nothing to discuss further. So, Lorraine, to you and your team, thank you for all of what you do because it's a very delicate situation that you guys are walking into, and they are dangerous calls sometimes that you have to deal with.
Thank you for allowing me to come on and talk about the work that we do.
Absolutely. Appreciate you. And we'll keep folks up to date. Again, Stepping Stones. I'll show you the website one more time. There it is. That's where you can find out some more information. And we look forward to seeing some of those CLCR vehicles on the road
Yes.
as well. All right. That's going to do it for this edition of Fox 59 Tonight. I'm Cameron Riddle. We appreciate you tuning in here. We're going to continue this conversation as we do every night at 8 o'clock here on the Fox 59 Now Smart TV app. And of course, I've got more conversations for you coming up on Sunday on my radio show. Open lines on 106.7 WTLC and on Hot 100.9. As always, if you missed any of these shows, we have them for you on YouTube. Search Fox 59, search Cameron Riddle. You can go back and watch all the conversations that we have, and we will continue to have some good ones coming up this week, especially tomorrow with our round table on some of the political things that have been happening here in Indiana with our lieutenant governor and his comments about the 3/5 compromise. And now the governor has actually responded to his comments. And of course, we are at the 100-day mark for the Trump administration, and that too has been a ride. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. You'll enjoy that panel. With that said, we're back here tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. And until then, have a good night.